Okay, so we're here in Birmingham at the NEC for Motorcycle Live 2019. Now, I've already had a look around the place and it's quite big and there's a lot to see. So what I'm going to do is just give you a roundup of the highlights, or what I think of the highlights, and just keep it from there. So first of all, as we're in England, first port of call is Ariel. Now, Ariel, to most modern eyes, is most famous for their cars, the Atom and the Nomad. But back in the day, they used to make vintage bikes. Except back then they were just bikes, they weren't vintage. But over the last few years they've made a few bikes, like the Ace R, the Ace of Spades, I think last year. Now they have behind me is the Iron Horse. Iron Horse is a fair bit of change, it's about 30 grand from what I can remember. Now they have the Ace, which is the standard model, I think it kicks off around 20. I do remember they had the R, which was phenomenal looking, I think that was around 50 grand. But incredible engineering. They use Honda VFR 1200 engines. You look at them in the detail and the engineering is absolutely superb. To be brutally honest, I reckon 20-25 grand for one of their bikes is not a bad deal at all when you look at the engineering, the fact that they are so different. But hey, no, each to their own. I'd definitely have one in my collection if I had the moolah. But yeah, something different. And well, as I said, we're in England. Let's start off with an English manufacturer. So the Ariel. So here at Kawasaki, I really don't know what to make of this brand. I used to race an old ZX6R back in the pre-97 days, and you know, I loved it. The ZX6R, absolutely loved it. But Kawasaki at the present moment, well, they've gone mad on the whole H2 supercharged thing, and I mean, yeah, it's an impressive piece of kit. But these H2, the ZH2, this thing up here, I don't know what to make of it. It's quite disturbing looking, if you ask me. It's like the front is like some scrumpled up paper. I don't know what to make of it. And in the superbike market, you've got like the ZX10R, the stalwart. I mean, okay, Jonathan Ray, he just won another World Superbike Championship on it. But, jeez, this is a lot of money. I mean, there's three, the base, middle and top. The top's about 30 or 25, 26 grand sterling. And you're talking about, it's up against competition, against the V4 S, and way more expensive than the S1000RR. And you know, you put one beside the other, it's pretty hard to tell the difference. They just don't seem to be doing it on the road, you know, in the market. Winning world championships, that means nothing. It's just the design just seems a little bit tired to me. Apart from these things, they just look bloody weird. Yeah, they sell other bits and pieces. There's loads of retro stuff and all that. If you're into it, you're into it. Oh, they do have the ZX6R. They still have a 600 in the market, which is great because they're cracking bikes and far better on the track than most leader bikes. But yeah, ZX10R, SPRR, whatever the hell they call them. I really don't know what to make of them. They're not doing great on group tests, and yeah, the current styling of all this, the supercharged stuff is just a bit weird. Sorry, Kawasaki. Right, so now we're on the Suzuki stand, and it's just not going well for the old Japanese brands, in my eyes anyway. I'm beside the GSXR 1000. Now, I actually have a K6 GX 1000, so it's what, 13 years old, and it's a legend among superbikes, and as far as the racing circuit is concerned as well. I mean, I raced it for a few years, I still have it, and I love the bike. When these came out a few years ago, was it 2 years ago? I mean, we thought they were going to change the whole entire landscape. Mickey Dunlop proved that they were like good on the racing, on the roads. But since then, they've kind of gone off the boil, really. You know, the styling is just it's a bit too conservative, which isn't. It shouldn't be a bad thing. It shouldn't be a bad thing. But you know, in this market, between weird-looking H2s and wings floating out of Fireblades these days, it needs a bit more. Of course, this is Suzuki. There's plenty of other stuff here, but I'm only kind of focused on the stuff that I kind of know or like, or really, and GX, you know, it's the race bikes, road bikes, super bikes, whatever you want to call them. And the GX 1000, again, like the Kawasaki and the previous model Fireblade, they're not doing that great in the group tests, you know, track and road. So I don't know where they're going to go for 2020, as this gentleman walks right past me. Thanks, buddy. MV Agusta. MV Agusta. Super Veloce. Right, well, MV is all about the design. Italian, what more do you expect? This is the new Super Veloce 800. As you can see, it's about 17.5 grand sterling when it's coming out. Now, to me, it's not my thing, all right? It's not my thing. It's a little bit too retro for me, a little bit too kind of, but then again, what would I know? Those who know these things would obviously think that this is a work of art. I do think that some of the other bikes here are a work of art. MV is just some stunning machinery between the F3, the Brutale, the Dragster. They just know how to do it. They've got some beautiful bikes here. The F3, what I'm looking at is about 14.5 grand. It's an 800cc, and that puts it bang on price-wise against the Ducati V2, and which is about 15, so there's not much between them. To me personally, I don't know. You'd have to test them on the road. You'd have to see how good they are on the road to see which one I'll go for, because they're both stunning looking machines. But MV, oh man, I mean, they're beautiful. You'd have to have one of these in the collection. I personally wouldn't go for one of these, but one of the other ones, bloody hell, they look mad. Some of them are just mad, but mad in a good way. Whew. MV Agusta. Yeah, thumbs up from me. Right, so to those who know me, know I'm a Ducati man, and as a Ducati man, BMWs are our sworn enemy. But last year when this bad boy was unveiled here, well, it's unveiled at ECMA, but you know, we don't get to sit until we get to see NEC. Well, it blew things apart. It looks damn good. These M Sport colours as well, really sweet. It is lighting up the group tests everywhere. The only bike that's faster on it on track is the RSV factory Aprilia. It's kicking the backside out of everything else. The V4 S, all the Japanese bikes, everything. And it's the price. The main thing is the price. I don't know how they're doing it. Now, they do have production problems at the minute. They've got a well-documented issue with the engine, so a lot of customers couldn't get their bikes, and you know, a 6-month delay or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. You know, it's been a long delay. BMW have apparently given them like vouchers towards clothing or whatever. But the price for this M Sport with the carbon wheels on the road, fully spec'd up, is about 19.5 grand. Now, when you think of V4S, it's about 23.5, something like that. And then like that ZX10 RR is, you know, 24 grand as well. I don't know how they're doing it. I literally don't know how they're doing it. As I said, the only bike that's beating it on the track, according to all the group tests, is the Aprilia RSV factory. But even that is about 22 grand, give or take. So that in itself is still around another 2.5. And these are sterling prices, 2.5 grand sterling more than this. Now, obviously next year, come 2020, there's going to be more group tests, a bit more in depth now that this should be sorted. And we also have a new tweaked V4 S, you know, R1M and a new blade. So 2020 is going to be a hell of a year for group tests, the superbike class. But I don't know how they're doing it for the price. If this is still up there, it's still up there for, like, you know, second place at 19.5 grand. If it was my money, bye-bye Ducati, I'd have to get myself one of these and then blow the other 3 grand on European track days. Incredible machine. It looks the business. I really like it. I hate saying that about BMW. Yeah, we're on the BMW stand. Of course they sell other bikes. There's loads of GSs here, but if you're in the market for a GS, you don't need me to tell you about it. You're going to buy a bloody GS, so whatever. I'm only interested in these. So yeah, there you go, BMW. Taking them away from Ducati. So we're here at KTM now. KTM, as far as I'm concerned, they're like the mad mother of the motorbike world now. The bikes they're bringing out is just nuts. Whether it's you know, from the 990s to the 1090s, the 1290s, anything with a 90 in it and KTM at the front of it, it's pretty much going to be bananas. Now, I've ridden a couple of like the 1090s and 1190s, maybe a 1290. It's got 1290 GT. Now, in fairness, I found that a little bit clinical, but I only rode it on the track. What I'm really interested in is what they're bringing out now, like the 790s and the 890s. Now, seeing them in the flesh, I have to admit I'm a little bit disappointed. They look a little bit bland, they look tiny, they look like 400s, you know, and they make a 390, but these things, they look like a 400. You get on it and you're like, God, this is tiny. You start looking at the specifications. They're making like 110, 120 horsepower. That's more than like a 916, a 996, you know, an original blade, whatever, in something that is minuscule. You just know these things are going to be a hooligan, an absolute nutter of a bike on the road or the track, wherever you are. You're going to be beaming. You're not going to want to get off. I'd love to take one of these out. I'd absolutely love to have an absolute lash on one of these, road or track. Maybe someone in Ireland at KTM, give me a nod. Yeah, give us a shout. But mad bikes. I love the way the attitude about them, and you seem to see a lot of the GTs, a lot of the 1290, the adventure bikes on the road now. They're taken over from GSs. Ain't a bad thing really, to be honest with you. Bloody GSs. So KTM, loads of other bikes. You know what they make here. I'm interested in the 790s and the 890s. I think for the real roads, these are the bikes to have. So, but you know, hey, one of the manufacturers, prove me wrong. All right, well, I suppose with the world that's in it, Brexit is kicking in, so, you know, everyone over here has to get friendly with the Americans. I'm here in an American manufacturer, American motorbike stand. But it's Indian, and I don't mind admitting, I quite like Indians. I like the style, this flat tracker style. Yeah, they have the other stuff, the old cruiser, sit in your backside, feet out, whatever type of stuff. If you're into that, that's fine. I actually really like this stuff. I think it's got a nice aggressive look on it. It's old school. You know you're going to have a bit of a laugh on it. It's that bit of that hooligan look about it. There's one element here. If it was mine, I'd get this one. I'd stick those exhausts on it. But and they're not hugely expensive either. I think about starting off somewhere between 10 and 12 grand for the FGR 1200. It's a 1200cc engine. You're just going to have a smile on these bikes. And who knew? An American manufacturer, which I wouldn't mind owning. There you go. Wonders I'll never see. Never sees, never happen. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just making it up as I go along. Anyway, I'm off. Okay, so here we are at the Triumph stand, and I am a big Triumph fan. I actually have two. I have an old 955 Daytona, which eventually, some year, will be converted into a cafe racer, and I have a 675 race bike, so I am a fan. I actually rode this bike earlier at the Experience. I did the Experience here last year and took out a Tiger 800. Phenomenal bike. I don't know why anyone would need a 1200. I suppose maybe if you're carrying two up, and both of you could do with shifting a few pounds. That's the only reason I could think you need a 1200, because the 800 Tiger was brilliant over around that course. This thing here today though, it wasn't so much. It's a big old brute. It's a 1200cc. It's a heavy old girl, and going around like scrambler tracks, it's not a scrambler. It's the image. It's a poser's bike, and there's no two ways about it. It's a beautiful bike, don't get me wrong. As is all the bikes, all Triumph bikes. I do love them all. But yeah, this was a poser. The user of a scrambling, no. Let me go for this 900cc, the smaller one. It's a little bit lighter, more nimble. But other than that, you're not going to hear me say anything about Triumph, anything bad about Triumph, especially when you have the Moto 2, the 765. Piece of art, absolutely stunning bike. That is a bike. And the price-wise is about 15 grand sterling. Oh, that is a bike I would kill to take around Mondello back in Dublin. Kildare, to all those over there. Back in Ireland, I would love to take that around the track there, or up the Wicklow Gap, or bloody well anywhere. That Moto 2 is just a stunning looking bike, and you just know the performance out of it is going to be incredible. So yeah, Triumph has pretty much got all bases covered. I love the bobber, the Thruxton R. You know, is a poser bike. It's not for me, but it could be for you. The Tigers are great if you're into adventure bikes. I think they are brilliant. And yeah, I'm sounding a bit like an advertisement here now. A bit of a Triumph fanboy. You know, I do have Ducatis as well, but we'll talk about Ducati later. Anyway, Triumph over and out. Can't believe I forgot this mad basket of a thing. Sat in it earlier. It's nuts, 2.5 litres, 3-cylinder. It actually fits nicely, it fits comfortable. I put a smile on my face. You'd have to have one just for a laugh, just for the sheer crack of it. If you had the money, you'd have to have one. Starting around 20 grand sterling though, worth every penny if you ask me. Yeah, how could I forget about this one? Okay, so now we're on to Honda. Basically, if you're looking for a motorbike, Honda has one for you. No matter what style or type of riding you do, there's a Honda for you. I have a couple of Hondas. I've had Hondas for years. You know, they just seem to be a go-to bike. I'm not going to talk about any of them. The rest of them, between Africa Twins and Brosses or whatever that. This is the one that everyone wanted to come and see. Earlier on in the stand, I mean, it's quite late here now. Earlier on, you couldn't get anywhere near this one. This is the SP version. It's the black basic version over there, and they were just swamped. The stats on it are mad. You've already read about them online. You don't need me to keep going on about it. As I was saying earlier, 2020 for superbikes is going to be phenomenal when they start getting this on a group test with the S1000RR, the V4 S, the Aprilia RSV factory, the R1M, and well, the other two Japanese bikes, which, as you've already heard me say, I haven't had great words to say about them between the Kawasaki and the Suzuki. This here, though, really good design. I love the pictures when I saw it first, especially when I saw the wings in it. I thought, Ducati, this is what you should be doing. Ducati, they look like just bloody awful, whereas this, really nicely integrated. When I seen it in the flesh earlier then, I was like a little bit underwhelmed. Speaking to someone else though, I think it was because I probably raised my own expectations of it, because now seeing it again now without the crowds around it, it's a bloody handsome looking bike. I mean, it's coming from a Ducati man to say, I really like the look of this Honda. Now this one's quite pricey. This is the SP version, and it's 23.5 grand, but you got all the bells and whistles on it. 218 horsepower, like a phenomenal amount of power compared to the last version, which we all know had the issues with false neutrals and ABS going out, braking going mad. This one could change the benchmark, or raise the benchmark next year. We'll have a crack at it. No doubt we'll see it pretty soon come the new year. I'm looking forward to this one. Chat you later. Harley Davidson. So Ducati, as anyone who knows me knows, I am a massive Ducati fan. I've had Ducatis for about 18, 19 years, from the 996, 999, 1098, 1199S Panigale, the very first one in Ireland. Bet you never heard me say that before. Yeah. But when the Panigale came out, that kind of turned it kind of like tipped my balance, tipped the old seesaw away from superbikes. It was just, to me, this is 7 years ago, it was just too easy. It was too accomplished. It made you feel like, you made you feel like you were riding like Valentino Rossi, but you never got the urge of it. And I started losing my love of superbikes back then. So when the V4 came out a couple of years ago, everyone just expected me to get it. But I'm like, no. A, I don't think I looked too much different to the one I already had. And B, well, I didn't have the money for a start. Okay, coming back from that, I thought, what was the point of me getting a V4 when I didn't even enjoy the Panigale that I had? Another issue I have with these at the moment is, now, first of all, this is the 1299 final edition. So this looks the same as mine. It is bloody stunning. It is gorgeous. But just look at that abomination behind. All right, when the R came out a couple of years ago, was it last year? They had these stupid wings on them. I don't care, they look stupid. They look like something out of Halfords. You wouldn't even get them from Alibaba. They look bloody awful. So yeah, I wasn't a fan of it. When you think the Aprilia RSV factory can integrate them so well, how can Ducati not do it? Even now, Honda, the Fireblade, can integrate them. So I didn't like it. And now for this year, or for the 2020 model coming in, they've stuck those stupid plastic things on the S model. So I have zero interest in the V4S. It looks stupid. I'm never going to enjoy it the road anyway. I'm sick and tired of superbikes. Although that RSV factory and the S1000RR could tempt me back. But anyway, yeah, so my love affair with Ducati kind of took a bit of a hit until the V2 was announced. So when the V2 was announced, I started reading the statistics on it, reading the specification on it. And the power and the weight seemed very familiar. So when I kind of Googled it, it's very close to the old 1098. Now, I loved my 1098. For me, it was like that last of the analog bikes where you really had to work for it. There's no traction or anything like that. Now the V2 does have traction control on it, but I guess it just allows you to be a bit more of a hooligan. I would love to actually have a spin on a V2. It's 15 grand sterling, and we've already seen there's a few bikes in and around that price, which could give it a run for its money in a value contest. But I really like it. It's an interesting prospect. It's going to be as quick as any 200 horsepower, 210, 220 horsepower superbike these days. It's going to be as quick as any of them on the road, if not quicker, and just as quick on most of our tracks to the average rider. So V2 is something I'd be very, very tempted to ride in the new year. I'm not bothered about the V4, although this. The other thing as well is the new V4 naked, what do they call it, super moto, hyper motard, the naked version of the V4 with not 2 stupid wings but 4 stupid wings. I'm not a fan of naked bikes anyway, but by Jesus, that is the stupidest looking one yet. Are they supposed to try and keep your nose down, like, you know, when you're... I mean, I thought the purpose of a naked bike was to try and get the front up as much as they could, not try and keep it down. Anyway, listen, I've spouted on enough about it. I love Ducati. I still love them as a brand. I'll go back and get 916, and I'll get a 1098S in the morning if I could. The V4 I won't bother. V2, getting a thumbs up from me. But the V4 naked thing, whatever the name of it, I don't care. It looks stupid. 2 plastic fins is stupid. 4 is even worse. Sorry, Ducati. Still love you, but you know, you got to sort your act out. Aprilia, the RS V4 1100 factory with properly integrated wings. Ducati. You see these things? Saw this last year. I went, oh my word, this is an absolute stunner. I love everything about it. I think it looks absolutely gorgeous. This thing is kicking it in all the group tests. Every group test we've seen so far this year, between this and the V4 S and the new S1000RR, this is the fastest on track. And we're not just talking by hundredths of a second. It's nailing it like by a second and a half. Inevitably, the S1000RR is coming in at second, and the V4 S coming in third. Or one came in joint third with the R1M. That's another story. This thing here is, I would get it if I was going back to a superbike again. You know, and I know I whinged about it earlier about losing my love for superbikes, and they're just too much for the road, and they're not much crack anymore, not much fun. I think I could be persuaded. This and the S1000RR, I think I could be persuaded. Although having said that, as I mentioned earlier, the S1000RR is about 19.5 grand. This thing, price isn't there, but it's around 21.5, 22 sterling. So as I said earlier, it's about 2.5 grand sterling more. And that's a hell of a lot of track days. That's a hell of a lot of European track days. But my word, you got that V4 as opposed to the inline 4. And you know what? That could well be worth an extra couple of grand. I love it. It is the quickest. And you know, a second half on the track, you know, for bragging rights. You know, we're men. We have like issues, you know. This will kick it. Yeah. If I was tossed up between my favourite Italian bikes, the Ducati and Aprilia, it's this one here now. MV Agusta for style, but this is definitely taken over from Ducati. They also have loads of other bikes. Oh, one disappointment I have with the show here is they missed out on the RS 660. I think it's the RS 660 again. We didn't get it last year when it was unveiled at ECMA in Italy last year. Now, it was a bigger unveiling at ECMA this year, just a couple of weeks ago, like a production-ready model, and it's all coming out. And I mean, that one is really, it's about 105, 110 horsepower, about 110 horsepower, which is not a huge amount. But again, a reference back to like the Ducati 916, you know, that only had about 109, 110. You know, and no one ever complained about a lack of power on that bike. You know, and being a twin, it's effectively half this engine. But do we see it here? No. I was chatting to one of the lads here, and basically it's not a priority over here. I guess they just want to push it in Europe first. You know, just Aprilia is not a huge seller over here. So really unfortunate. That was a bike I really wanted to see. I thought that would be an ideal road bike, a bike that you could genuinely have proper crack on the road in the real world. But alas, we're not going to get to see it again. So we can fawn over this and the Nakeds, the Brutalis, whatever. And you know, I suppose that's not too bad. It's a lovely feeling bike sitting on it. It's you know, it feels great. When you consider when I sat on that V4 S earlier, purely for research purposes, with those Halford things sticking out, do you know what I felt like I was looking down at? I felt like I was looking down the dash on a GS, BMW GS. It was so wide. Don't have that problem with this. I'd have one of these. Love it. Okay. Not much more to go. Off I go. See you later on. So here we are on the Yamaha stand, and Yamaha, like so many of the manufacturers here, if you want a bike, they have a bike for you, no matter what you're into. Adventure bikes between the Super Teneres, kind of the MT-09s, MT-07s, and you know, commuter bikes. But what we have is the R1M and the R1 over there, the standard R1 over there. Now, I actually have 2 Yamahas as well. I know I've already said I have a couple of Triumphs and I have Ducatis and Suzukis, whatever, but forget all about that. The Yamahas aren't exactly that expensive, the ones I have. One's a 1995 Super Tenere, worth about a tenner, and my other one is an SZR 1000X Up, which will eventually look good. But forget all about that. Here we have the R1M. Now, this is probably the best Japanese bike out there at the moment, although Honda may argue about that next year with the Fireblade when it starts getting hitting the road for the track tests. Really interested in looking at that one. The disappointment of the Suzuki and the Kawasaki, I don't even think they're in the picture. We all know that the R1, especially the R1M, is a serious piece of kit. One of the group tests of this year, which pitted the RSV factory against the new S1000RR and the V4 S, the previous generation, the one that's just going on this one, came joint third fastest around the track than the V4S, the Ducati V4S. So God knows how this is going to be in the same circumstances. And you know, the R1 has an iconic look about it. Suzuki and Kawasaki seem to be still looking. Honda, I'm a bit, you know, it's just a little bit kind of like, you know, bland. But this, you know, an R1 when you see it. And this, you know, the sound of it, you also know the sound of it, just like a Ducati, it's an iconic sound. Really looking forward to seeing this one on the road and the track next year. Money-wise, this is the R1M. This one I think is 22,145 sterling. When you think about the SP2 Fireblade, is a couple of grand more than that, more than a couple of grand more than that. You know, this could well be a bargain. But then again, having said that, and I keep bringing it up, the S1000RR is only about 19.5, just over 19.5. So is this a couple of grand more than the S1000RR? It's yet to be seen. I really like it. I think it's a gorgeous looking bike. There's carbon effect on it. The sound, you know, is going to be awesome. Next year is going to be a cracking year for the Superbike contest. So, right, I'm out of here. Bye-bye. Okay, so I'm closing out my trip here at the NEC at the Norton stand. And this was the one that kind of stole the show for me, and not for all the right reasons. We have the two V4s down there, the SS and the RR, absolutely stunning looking bikes. We're all hoping for them to do better at their Alaman TT with McPint. And but the Superlight, which is that one there, don't be confused, I'll get to it. We saw it last year, thought, God, stunning bike, that's absolutely gorgeous. That would be serious crack on the road. And you know, and the track being only a 650, you know, it has that great balance of like a bit more power and weight that you need. I had a look at this when I came here. I didn't even hear about it. I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's nice, that's interesting, you know. Look at the spec sheet, 50 grand. 50 grand. Okay, £49,995 of your finest sterling. Thank you very much for a 650. So first reaction is sweet Jesus, and then after that you read a bit more, and this is supercharged. This thing is supercharged. It's a 650 making 175 horsepower. Not only that, the frame and the swing arm, it's all carbon, full carbon. That is insane. So I don't know. I don't think you're going to see this at Mondello or Castle Combe or Anglesey or any other racetrack soon. My God, could you imagine giving it a lash just to see how it was? A 50 grand 650 with a supercharger, with a carbon frame and forks. Come on, not forks, I'm talking about mountain bikes. A carbon frame and swing arm. Oh man, this would be insane. But I think this one's destined for a few collections, never to see the light of day again. So that is it here for me at the NEC. Thanks for listening, if you have been listening this far. I know I didn't touch on half the bikes that I could have done, but you know, there's just too many. And these are the bikes that, you know, I like. So hopefully you like my drivel. If not, nothing I can do about it. You know, you could have pressed stop ages ago. No one forced you to carry on watching. All right, out of here. Take it easy. Bye-bye.